Hey, what's going on? We don't have a crazy new trade to break down here on the third episode of the Box Out, but we've still got some interesting stories and some agents probably leaking out news to the media again on the Damian Lillard stuff. It's all crazy. James Harden, he shows up to camp in Colorado, but there's no way he could be a 76er, I don't think. So what do we think is going to happen there? We're going to talk about it here on the Box Out. Cue the music. So welcome into the Box Out podcast. We've got some Damian Lillard drama a little bit to still talk about and how it's related to a bigger picture that could be happening in the NBA. So Aaron Goodwin, the agent of Damian Lillard, so this is something that was reported on ESPN, told the Bucks and Nets to not let the Blazers know that Dame was interested in playing for them in case it impacted negotiations with the Heat. I'm not sure, truthfully, how transparent you're supposed to be with each other during NBA negotiations, but if this is true, and of course this could be coming from Aaron Goodwin himself as the source, this is crazy because it's almost like a chess not checkers move, because if the Portland Trail Blazers know that Damian Lillard would theoretically go to the Bucks and Nets as well as the Heat, then that would put pressure on the Portland Trail Blazers to, I guess, only go and trade with the Miami Heat. But the Trailblazers kind of stood their ground because they didn't really feel like they were going to get fair value back for Lillard, and the Heat never came with a Godfather offer because they felt like the NBA culture has of late is that the NBA superstar just can request a trade, name the destination they're going to go to, and we all expect it to happen. Remember when James Harden essentially forced his way to Brooklyn back in Houston and then forced his way to Philadelphia? Durant from Brooklyn, after he had just gotten himself to Brooklyn a couple of years ago, now forces himself to Phoenix after saying he was only going to play for like Miami or Phoenix. It speaks to this bigger culture in this player empowerment era that the players could really just force them to do anything and they could get to wherever, almost essentially. But now it seems between this James Harden situation in Philadelphia and the Damian Lillard situation and how it ended up, it seems at the very least that teams are getting a little over their superstars forcing their way out, especially with years left on their deal. And so they really have no real reason to trade these players because they're not about to expire. And James Harden specifically, he has 1 year left, and if he doesn't show up this season, then he can't become a free agent next summer. So he's kind of stuck and he has to show up, essentially. But it'll be interesting to see what all happens. But this is why it's become such a frustrating situation for NBA GMs and maybe even a little bit to fan bases. I mean, imagine being the Brooklyn Nets and the amount of movement and drama and everything that's gone on there the last few seasons. Of course, now it's a little different with just Mikal Bridges and stuff there. But, I mean, wow, that's crazy. You went from signing Kyrie Irving, getting Kevin Durant, getting James Harden, and then having none of it. And just like that, it was over. I mean, this has been going on, everyone likes to think, since the decision from LeBron James, but some people may even point to the 2007 Celtics as well. But regardless, wherever you think it starts, it's interesting to see how it's built up, culminated in this thing that ultimately the league doesn't love, I don't think. I mean, they love the trade request because they want it to be a 12-month league, but at the same time, having your guys move every other year isn't good for stability's sake, and it's hard for NBA fans to stay invested if you think that your team's not even going to be together for more than a year or two. Next, I want to talk about where can James Harden be, because how can he be in Philadelphia? I don't know. I mean, he's called Daryl Morey a liar, and he's demanded a trade request and wants to go to the Clippers or Miami, but I don't know if that's going to work. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment on the Box Out. Now, Harden, of course, wanting out again of his situation is unique because right now there doesn't seem to be a lot of trade suitors for Harden because, well, frankly, he's not in his prime anymore. He's older now. He still has the heebie-jeebies in the playoffs occasionally, as we saw even last playoffs. Now, he did have some good performances, but he also had some not-so-good ones. And he's also going to ask of you a lot of money on an extension. Now, you don't have to give it to him, but, of course, you're giving yourself that headache. But for content purposes, let's entertain where he could possibly go. So, one option is they somehow work it out in Philadelphia and he stays there, obviously, which I don't know the odds on it, but it just doesn't seem like he is going to stay there long term, but who knows? Crazier things have happened. So the Clippers is one destination Harden wants to go to, but as we've discussed, I don't think the Clippers really have much to offer, and the 76ers and Daryl Morey feel like they can get more than what the Clippers can offer, and the Clippers are going to lowball anyways because they know how much of a headache Harden is that he wants out, and so they are most likely going to trade him. So they're not inclined to give up a whole lot anyways. It's Harden, and truth be told, who would be? The Miami Heat could try to get in on this, but it's probably going to take a swap with Tyler Hero, and how does that really fit with Tyrese Maxey? I'm not really sure, and is that enough to make Embiid really want to stick around Tyrese Maxey and Tyler Hero? So we could see another crazy storyline down the road on this Joel Embiid situation. So definitely we're going to watch that as the season unfolds if we somehow end up dipping our toes into Joel Embiid trade talks before the season's over. Maybe some sort of trade involving the Knicks. There's maybe an RJ Barrett piece of this, but again, is that enough firepower for the Sixers to overcome the Bucks, the Celtics, and the Heat? I don't know. It's the same thing if they maybe tried to do something with the Pelicans, maybe trade for CJ McCollum, but again, I don't know how much that works either. It's difficult because Harden doesn't hold as much value as he may offer just playing for your team, but he's a headache to have on your team, and it's kind of impossible to see Harden playing for the Sixers the whole season, but I don't know. Maybe another trade destination could be the Toronto Raptors in some sort of deal, but one, Harden doesn't seem like a Toronto type of guy. I don't know. He just doesn't seem like it. And then second of all, what are you going to get back? Again, it couldn't be anything of value because if they're trading for James Harden, they're clearly going to want to keep their pieces together to try to make some sort of run. The Timberwolves, they missed out on the Damian Lillard sweepstakes, which I don't think they were ever seriously in them, but I thought personally they could have been a dark horse team, but maybe some sort of deal where Karl Anthony Towns goes to the Sixers and you do a little Twin Towers duo / Towns can play when Embiid's on the bench. How about Chicago, a team that is kind of in the middle of nothing anyway? Maybe they finally move on from Zach LaVine, and that's interesting enough for Joel Embiid for this season. Any other team I think about, it just seems like an even further along stretch And so I'm really interested to see how this all unfolds. Of course, we're going to probably still talk about it and talk about how the things unfold, of course. We're going to talk about one last thing before we go here. There's a clip going viral I see on Twitter and Reddit of Jaylen Brown at practice dribbling with his left hand. And of course, it doesn't look amazing, and people are saying a lot of stuff about it. You can probably imagine what stuff they're saying, but we're going to talk about it here for a second on the Box Out. So there's a video online, and I'm sure you can find it. It's Jaylen Brown just standing on the sideline, dribbling with his right hand. Then he switches to his left hand. He's just dribbling it, just a little power dribble, and he loses a little bit of it control. Now, here's the thing, right? Can we simmer down on the Jaylen Brown hate? He averaged 26.6 points per game last season and did it at an efficient clip, 49.1 field goal percentage. So let's not pretend like Jaylen Brown's some bum. He got an extension, and yeah, it's a lot of money. But at the same time, that's what the going rate is for a two-way wing. And he made All-NBA, and so he's going to get All-NBA money when it's his term up for an extension. So, no, it's not a good outlook, but at the same time, you know what I think is an even worse outlook than this video of Jaylen Brown dribbling with his left hand some is analyzing the 15-second video of Jaylen Brown dribbling with his left hand for 15 seconds. I think that we should probably at least wait and see how he plays this NBA season and then judge his supposed weak left handle. Like, Jaylen Brown does struggle driving with his left hand clearly in favor of his right, but he's also not the first person and the last person to be a successful basketball player with a weaker hand. He should be critiqued, he should be analyzed for it, but what I'm saying is can we at least wait to see him in a game before we start this? That's all I'm asking. Can we just wait and see him in a game before we start analyzing his left-handed dribbles? And that'll wrap us up here on the Box Out Podcast. Please give us a good rating. That helps us a lot to try to grow. Give us a share, give us a like, a follow on the Box Out Pod on Instagram. And of course, thank you for listening. Cue the music.
Rock the beat.